Cory, before the show, you had just been telling us that your wife enjoys professional wrestling. Can you pontificate
Wrestling.
a little bit about that?
Yeah, so she's into a company called All Elite Wrestling, or AEW.
I've heard of this one.
And so there's
Wait,
this
really?
guy, I was watching this over her shoulder like last week, and there's a guy who I want to talk about, introduce you all to, named Dalton Castle, and he comes out dressed as a peacock. And
Ooh.
what he has is a group of people behind him called the Boys, who are like dressed as little birds. And when he comes out, a part of his, like, the grand reveal where normally guys are walking out to a metal song, his is like really like fanciful music. And he holds his hand out, and people who can't see this, because you can watch this on YouTube, but if you don't, I'm holding my hand out flat, and these four dudes called his Boys come through and they peck into his hand, and I'm talking like human adult men into his hand like little birds. And then he gets into the stage and wrestles, and it will be like, someone who comes out to like Metallica with, a skull painted on their face, wrestling a guy who comes out with the Boys. And
Beautiful dichotomy.
yeah, and I just gotta say, wrestling is quite incredible. And I didn't watch it growing up. Did any of you watch wrestling?
I did. I actually.
Yeah. When I was little, so when I was a kid, like Hulk Hogan was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big Undertaker fan.
Yeah, and like the Ultimate Warrior was another guy that I remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're really dating ourselves now, because I think all of these guys are dead except for Hulk Hogan, who is like fully embraced being like. Fully embraced being like a huge racist Floridian.
Yeah. He sunk like the great leftist news org out in New York because they published his sex tape.
So
thanks a lot.
Not to jump ahead to the topic of labor, but he's also famously the guy who squealed on the wrestling labor organizers for they were trying to form a union, and he went and told Vince McMahon, the guy who runs WWE, about it, and he kind of shut them down and started like cutting out all the guys. Yeah, surely though that's the worst thing that Hulk Hogan has ever done. Yeah. It's really not even top 10, but he did rat fuck Jesse Ventura on that one.
I was just listening to a podcast the other day, and they played a clip of, it's from, I don't think it's even that long ago. It's like from the 2000s somewhere. Well, I guess now the early 2000s are kind of long ago, but anyway, he is playing this. He is singing a song. He, I guess, heard about a young fan of his who had died, from like an illness or something. It was a real bummer. So for the family, the Hulkster recorded a song of him singing about how when like he knows that this little kid was a huge Hulkamaniac, and so when it's the Hulkster's time to shuffle off this mortal coil, he can't wait to wrestle with him in heaven. It is quite a song. It sounds like it was kind of from something from the 80s, so that's why it was kind of startling to discover that it was from like 2005 or something like that.
Amazing. Wrestle off this mortal coil.
Yeah.
Duplex from this earth.
Honestly, there is a weird thing that like the professional wrestling, the tie between professional wrestling and modern day leftists is like very prevalent, and
three of us have a pretty good friend.
I do not understand.
Very into this.
Yeah. Some wrestlers are openly very like pro-union. There's a guy, Eddie Kingston, who like rolls out in trade unionist shirts and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something about like the working classness of it. It feels very like
the blue collar element.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not trying to say either that like I'm too highbrow. Like I love to watch huge beefcakes wail on each other as much as the next guy. I do find that entertaining. I don't know. I guess there's two things. I don't really know how to approach getting into wrestling in 2023. And the other part of it is that I'm really afraid try because I'm afraid of success, and I'm afraid that I will get into it, and then it's gonna be something that like I'm gonna have to like just in every social situation I'm in, like fight myself to be like, no, don't. No, nobody wants to hear about this. Like, keep the wrestling stuff to yourself. Like,
no, it's 100% going to happen. You'll be invited onto a podcast and be like, let me tell you about the Peacock Man.
Yeah.
Honestly, things like the Peacock Man, that's the kind of stuff that I could really get into.
Yeah.
I also love the idea of like Birdman rolling into a situation and just beating somebody's ass, like a big buff guy just getting dominated by a Peacock Man.
I think that's the note. That's probably the idea with this kid, which I love.
Yeah,
it's a it's an inversion or a reimagining of masculinity or whatever. Yeah. Good for you, Castle. Is that his name?
Dalton Castle. Yeah.
That's a pretty good one.
Everyone go look up his introduction
right now. Pause. That's my favorite part of it, is that he has 4 little men running behind him.
Yeah.
That are like little birds.
One of his boys it became like later a heel named Jack White, who was like named like Jack Knife White. He's like, I don't know, he's some kind of knife pervert. And so he goes from being this like peacock guy to a guy who dresses in all black and is a knife pervert. So that happens in wrestling too. Yeah.
That's a great heel. Speaking of heels, can we talk about a big labor fight coming up and go to the music?
Voices, the things they said. Voices, some from those dead. All the voices heard. Voices, things we say. Voices, they're in your head. All the voices heard.
Oh, hello everyone. You have Kempa.
And you have Skylar.
And you have Cory.
And Mia.
Oh yeah. Awesome episode for you today, folks. It's kind of breaking news too. So very excited to have our special guest Mia here. Cory is kind of operating as a guest host today.
Less special, I would say.
We always get these DSA folks crawling into the show. I don't know what's going on. So let's first just introduce you two, and then I'll get over some of the things I need to do at the beginning here. Mia Roberts, you are a member of the California Association of Professional Scientists. You are a director at large. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure you'll tell us. Chair of the Member Action Committee and a senior environmental scientist with the state. Very, very happy to have you here today. Welcome.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And basically, folks, we are discussing today a big vote ongoing with the state's scientists to determine if, at some point they will be going down a path toward a strike. And also we have, again, I think I'll just call you a guest host today, Cory.
Okay.
Cory Copeland. You are here today representing DSA's Labor Committee. You're a member of DSA Sacramento. You're more like, I know you through the very robust local mutual aid committee. Mm-hmm. You all show up for a lot of things. You are also a member and solidarity coordinator of the DSA Labor Committee, and you're a scientist. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So excited
to be here. Yeah.
Do you have something to say?
No, go for it. Sorry.
Okay. So before we get started, I just want to say to the listeners and viewers, folks, we love what we do. If you love what we do, become a patron. Voices River City. Wait, that's not correct.
But it's good to get it in their brains.
Yeah. Voices River City. Patreon.com/Voices River City. Go on down to that URL. And for as little as $5 a month, you can get special occasional content. We do have some of that coming up. And in the month of September, mid-September, we will be having a Voices Hangout. More details on that. We're not telling you where. Skylar, do you know the date of this? I think it's the 14th.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and I just want to be very clear about this. If you are not a patron and you show up to where this is happening, Cory will beat you up.
Yeah.
So
I'm ready to throw down.
You're dead to me. If that's what happens.
You are taking your life in your hands, fucking around with that. So just keep that in mind.
I do fight dirty. I use teeth.
He has been watching a lot of wrestling lately.
Yeah. He will do a vertical suplex on you, and I guarantee you are not ready for it. So
he dressed as an emu. Yeah. So if you're not a patron yet, become one, and then you can come and hang with us, hang with the crew on September 14th. We will not be publicly disclosing the location, so a little as $5 a month, yo. Come on, not that bad. Now let's get started, shall we? Mia,
Do it.
let's talk. Can you tell us about what's going on at the Capitol? So first of all, tell me a little bit about what CAPS is, the California Association of Professional Scientists, and who it represents.
Yeah. Thank you. CAPS is the union that represents California state scientists statewide, right? So your toxicologists, environmental scientists, veterinarians, we have a myriad of classifications that CAPS represents across the state.
And what kind of scientist should I guess? Do we know this, Skylar? What kind of scientist she is?
I don't. No, wait. Yes, I do. I know.
Yes,
I
you
remember. Yeah, it's
well,
the best
environmental,
kind.
but what part of the environment?
So my day job, the one I actually get paid for, is responding to oil spills.
Oh,
wow.
Yes.
Incredibly important work.
Very important. Yes, absolutely.
And so I feel like this is work that's probably pretty advanced and probably requires, that the state pay you a living wage. So let's talk a little bit about that. So how many scientists are represented again through CAPS?
Yeah, so we have a total of about 5,500 state scientists who are represented by CAPS. About 4,100 to 4,200 are rank and file state scientists, and the rest are supervisors and managers.
Okay. Now, tell us what has been going down. It appears that there has been a very, very long term of negotiation with the state that CAPS has been engaging in. It looks like, SEIU 1000 is not alone in having difficult conversations with the state.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about what's going on and how it's kind of gotten to this sort of inflection point? Yeah,
absolutely. So, we've been fighting different versions of this same battle since the early 2000s. State scientists, used to make about the same salary as our engineering counterparts. A lot of us do the same, if not, similar, if not the same work as engineers. We had kind of a break in that pay relationship in the early 2000s. Engineers took off and we got left behind. And so we have been fighting ever since to repair that pay relationship that we had, I believe, since the 80s, if not earlier than that. So, this is a battle. Yeah.
Can I just ask, how did that start? How did that happen that the engineers got so far out in front pay wise?
Yeah, so my understanding of that is that Governor Davis was the governor at the time, and he was the one who basically spearheaded that decision to increase the engineers' pay. Now, from what I understand, state scientists were also, kind of slated for an increase at that time, but he was recalled, so didn't really get a chance to follow through with that. And then Schwarzenegger came in and absolutely killed it. And we
He terminated it, if you will.
Yeah, he terminated. Absolutely, yes. The terminator, yes.
I'm sorry, everyone.
Terminator, you had to do
That was
it.
perfect.
I understand. It's
That's
fine.
why they tune in.
You're allowed that joke, yeah. So this battle, right, has been going on for a long time. The current battle that we're in, though, is our Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, or contract with the state, expired in 2020. And so we have been trying to negotiate a new contract since then. COVID kind of complicated that and delayed the negotiations a bit. And then, we just keep on getting offers that are not addressing the pay disparity that I mentioned before, which actually now there's a pay disparity between engineers, but also supervisors and rank and file scientists as a result of all this. So it's been a very long battle, and I think people are, pretty fed up with it at this point.
If I can also add, at one point in this process, it had been multiple years, and our bargaining team said, we have to give something to the rank and file members to vote. And so a tentative agreement was reached, but the membership voted it down as inadequate. And so I think that's a key piece of background here as well.
Yeah.
So what is the ask? I guess if you read it, if you look at it on a piece of paper, you might be like, oh, this seems like a big ask. Walk someone through that. What is the ask, from your side of things, from the scientist side, and why is that why is it something that people should really get behind, that fellow workers should really rally around you in solidarity?
Yeah, so right now, as it stands, our rank and file scientists are making between 30 and 40% less than their supervisors. And that will vary depending on classification, but it's a huge gap. And Calhr, who is the entity that has been designated by the governor that we negotiate with, right, at the bargaining table, they even have a policy that, they don't like to see rank and file and supervisors more than 10%, away from each other in terms of salary and pay.
So even they say
here we
this.
are. Yeah, it's on their own website. So, here we are 30 or 40% behind, and we've been dealing with this for, almost 2 decades now. And so, at this point, morale is just tanking, right? People are so tired of this problem that they can't even afford to buy a home, feed their families, pay back their student loans, which, by the way, we're required to have at minimum a bachelor's degree to be a state scientist. A lot of our state scientists have PhDs. You should be able to afford to pay back your student loans, right? That earn a living wage to pay those loans back for a degree that's required for the job that we do. Right. So yeah, that's just a little bit of what we're facing at the moment.
Yeah, I was reading Wes's story in this, or no, it wasn't Wes who wrote it. Maya Miller's story in the SAC-B, and when I saw that the scientists are seeking a raises of 30 to 40%, I was like, oh, I could see some people being like, what? What's that about?
Yeah, well, and that's just to catch us up.
Right.
That is just
It's been decades of nothing, right?
Yes, exactly. And then, we face these astronomical inflation percentages, right? And so, the offers that the state has been giving us doesn't even touch inflation, let alone deal with this pay equity issue that we've been fighting for the past 20 years or so.
Yeah. So the LAO office did an analysis of that tentative agreement that was voted down, and
the LAO acronym alert.
Oh, the what are they? Legislative Analyst Office.
That is it. Yes.
Um,
And they
and
basically just write reports on things like this.
yeah. And what they said
consider
is,
to be unbiased. Sorry.
you know, go for it. What they said is, as of January of this year, when that last tentative agreement was voted down, there had been 19% inflation since our last contract, and so, you know, they offer caps, you know, 5%, 2%, 3%, things like that. You know, it's functionally a pay reduction for people, and I thought it was really telling, Mia, at the rally today when you brought up some of the things from the bargaining survey, that we have scientists at the state of California who are going to food banks, you know, that are, you know, something like 80% are saying that they have to do things to supplement their wages. And so these are the people that are in charge of monitoring radioactive material, that are in charge of toxic substances, that are in charge of how clean your drinking water is, how safe your flood control is. I mean, it's pretty serious to me that people who are working these absolutely critical jobs can't focus on it and are having to DoorDash on the weekend and hit food banks. You know, that's not okay.
Definitely not.
Unconscionable. And yeah, I mean, that's a funny thing too, that I think a lot of folks, you know, maybe not many of our listeners, but it's like, this is California. This is a state that for well over 15 years, we haven't seen a Republican owning statewide office. They have Democrats have a super duper majority in the Senate and the Assembly, something like 75 to 80%. And
we
so,
are the world's like fourth largest economy or whatever,
yes.
you know.
Also, right.
Fun fact, it's not like we don't have money here, right? Who wants to guess how many billionaires reside in California?
Ooh, that's a fun game.
I tweeted it the other day.
50.
Wait, did you? How many?
Yeah, it was like 180 something.
Is 189.
Yeah.
There are 189 people who have at least $1 billion in the state.
We could make one of them a $500 million and pay for the cost of all of them.
They could make one of them someone who only has $100 billion and pay for the whole thing.
And so it makes you wonder, as a listener or as a worker, why are we in this position where our workers in this state are feeling this much pain when the Democrats, who are ostensibly the party of labor, are running everything? And, you know, to me, it I don't know. We've talked about this many times on the show, but like, why don't one of you, like, you know, what do you think the inflection, like, what's the problem here? What's the impasse?
Well, I will say that we did get a support letter from the California legislature very recently, over the last couple weeks.
That's phenomenal. Okay.
We had to work pretty hard for it, but we got it, and we have 51 signatures on that letter. So, you know, that was really heartening. We've also worked, you know, with the SAC Democratic Committee, as well as the California Democratic Committee, to pass resolutions supporting state scientists.
Good.
And those passed, right? So they are in existence. We had legislatures show up and speak at our rally today in support, some that we didn't even have programmed. So that was really great to see, but I'm just really hoping that it's like not too little too late.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And yeah, you know, I guess you do see in a lot of, you know, certain pockets of the Democratic Party, certainly local spaces, like a lot of support for things like this. But, you know, the legislators are the ones that vote on this, and the governor is the one who signs it. And, you know, especially in the California system, which we'll probably get to this in a bit, any bill coming out to support labor, what they like to do, what Democrats like to do when they are being paid by, you know, corporations not to pay you guys more, they let it go to certain committees and they let it die on the vine so they don't have to do a vote on it. And it saves every Democrat who doesn't want to be held responsible to their voters it saves them a lot of face, and it allows them to continue doing their job without having that on their record.
Yeah, and for state workers, they've designed a kind of Kafka-esque system of non-responsibility and bad outcomes where, you're bargaining with some kind of low-level flunky at the state, and they aren't really empowered to give you a good deal. Only their leadership is, but their leader is like, oh, I can't do that without the governor's approval. And the governor says, I can't do that because I have to get it through the legislator with the budget. And the legislator says, I don't bargain. And so you're kind of like, have this whole system where everyone is responsible and no one is responsible. And it's designed to give bad outcomes for state workers to, keep us underpaid. And that's ultimately the way the system is designed, and it could be changed. They could decide to change it, but it is fundamentally designed to fail.
That sounds maddening.
It is, and it's very hard for people to understand too, right? A lot of our members, always have questions about, how bargaining works and, what the deadlines are to, get an MOU through into the budget. And, it's complicated. And I mean, I will admit, I just became a union leader 2 years ago, and it was a very steep learning curve. Before I stepped up, I didn't know nearly enough in order to make educated decisions, right? So it's complicated.
Absolutely. And that's by design, right?
Right.
It seems to be designed to make you just throw your hands up in the air and just take whatever is given to you.
Right.
Well, can I bring it back to just one bill, actually, because I thought this was really interesting. There is an assembly bill in action that is meant to support the state scientists, or at the very least get to the bottom of what's going on, right?
Yes. Yes.
And this would be Assembly Bill 1677 by Tina McKinner, the assembly member from Inglewood. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in a nutshell, this bill will help us get third-party or good data that we can use at the bargaining table, because Calhr, which is the entity that we are forced to bargain with at the table, along with, the Department of Finance, but it's complicated. Calhr has their own set of data, and it's just not reflective of the actual situation. Their data is skewed in their favor, right? And scientists are really good with data. We come to the table, we talk about data until we are blue in the face, but they just will not recognize that their data is skewed and incorrect, right? And so this
bill, because
bill,
they're dealing with scientists, are they just like, shut up, nerds?
You know what? I'm not at the bargaining table, so I'm not sure if they actually said that, but maybe they think it.
I will say they put out this total compensation report, and I was like, if I put that out as a scientist, I would just be reprimanded. The data work was like shamefully bad. On just like literal like methodological decisions made to muddy the waters in ways that were really objectionable.
Sorry, Mia. Sorry I interrupted you with a bad joke. So.
Oh no, not at all. I will kind of riff off of what Cory said too, right? Like they included data in that total compensation report for supervisors and managers, which completely skews things away from the rank and file. And so this bill will, provide actual good data that we can both use at the bargaining table to come to a valid conclusion, right? Because you put garbage in, you get garbage out. And so we're really trying to avoid that with this bill. The Berkeley Labor Center would be doing the analysis. And it is currently hanging out in the suspense file in the Senate. So
which committee? Appropriations.
Appropriations, yeah. So it's in the suspense file. So it's just kind of waiting, and I've heard it described as kind of like purgatory
Yeah, it's where bills go to die, right?
Where bills go to die, yeah.
Appropriations, for folks who don't know, it's basically the committee that determines how much money it would cost the state to enact whatever piece of legislation you're looking at. And when you send it to the suspense file in appropriations, that usually is a death knell for it. And again, that this allows for folks in the Senate and the Assembly to not have to go on record as supporting or not supporting or being mysteriously not there and not voting on a particular bill. Our system in the state is incredibly broken when it comes to legislator accountability in this regard, in the ways that you can sort of use these committees to sort of slough off any real means of moving a conversation forward.
Yeah, and I hope that's not the case for this, I really do. I hope we don't even need it. I hope CalHR can just do the right thing and, give us a contract that establishes pay equity again for us, and we can all move forward. I love the term, this would be like budget dust, right? For us, for the state, to
what does that mean?
To right the
budget
wrong.
Dust.
Budget dust. Like the budget is so big, it wouldn't even
It'd be inconsequential. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
totally.
It's like a rounding error,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, can we talk a little bit about kind of where we are today, this week? The day we record is always on Wednesdays. So as we're recording, it's Wednesday, August 30th in the evening. I saw a headline this morning saying that your union, CAPS, was going to be making a vote surrounding the concept of striking, right?
yes.
And so my interest was piqued. I knew that this was kind of it was baking for a while, that your union wasn't being respected by the state. What happened? How did it, what clicked it to this level, and kind of where are we today?
Sure. So like Cory said, the membership voted down a tentative agreement at the beginning of this year. The offer that the state passed to us just didn't cut the mustard, not even close, right? It resulted in like a step backward in our view, right? So, the bargaining team has been busting its butt to get us a fair deal for the past 3 years. Guys, 3 years at the bargaining table is, from what I know, unheard of, right?
That's something else. Yeah.
The patience of state scientists is gone.
Yeah.
No more patience.
I will say you are the most you're loud, you're intense out there when you're in the pickets. You're not as scary yet as SEIU 1000 during theirs. Like, go to a couple of theirs and take some pointers. Really scare Calhr.
Bring a peacock outfit and
A
some
peacock.
boys.
And boys.
And your boys.
Boys. I mean, we have some really good birders. We're state scientists.
Use all of your skill sets. Yeah.
Yeah. So really what it's coming down to is, we're coming up on legislative deadlines again, right? September 14th, I believe, is the day that the legislature breaks until, they come back again in January. So, we're really trying to get a tentative agreement that we think our membership would support before those deadlines pass. And the state, CalHR, this seems to be a pattern of theirs, right? They will stall until the very last minute, right? We passed our proposals in May, of this year. They didn't meet with us again until August, right? And I don't even think it was, I think August 22nd or August 25th. I can't remember which date it was. They said that their drop dead date was August 22nd in order to get things moving to the legislature. They didn't meet with us until the 25th. So it was like past their own drop dead date, quote unquote, right? So, you know, we're tired of this. We're tired of waiting. We have no patience left. We need to see some substantial movement, and this strike authorization vote that you mentioned that we launched yesterday for the membership, we hope will move the needle, you know.
What is this vote?
Yeah.
What does it do?
Yeah. So a strike authorization vote is a vote that you put out to the membership to gauge if the membership is in support of a strike.
Okay.
And we had a board meeting this past weekend, and all of the rank and file board members for CAPS voted unanimously in favor of implementing this strike authorization vote. And so we put the vote out. The vote closes on Friday morning at 8 a.m. So we will see what the membership says at that point.
Can I ask a question? So, you know, if y'all are forced into a strike, can you kind of talk about what some of the ramifications of that might look like for folks who aren't really as familiar with your work? Like, you know, Cory mentioned earlier that, you know, some of y'all work with radioactive materials, and some of the work you do is really important. I think for the layman, if like if the sanitation workers go on strike, everybody kind of immediately understands what we're facing.
Right.
In your case, what are some of the ramifications of that laymen like myself might not immediately think of that would be that would happen?
Well, let's talk about food. So California has a huge agricultural industry, right? As we all know, we produce food not only for ourselves, but for the entire country and the world. You know, billions and billions of dollars of an industry here. We have a tiny group of extremely important state scientists who identify the pests, the bugs, right, that could damage those crops and prevent those crops from being either imported/exported, you know, in and out of our state. And they have to identify these insects in order to basically, you know, keep that industry running. And I think there's like 20 of them, but this whole ag industry basically sits on their shoulders. So if they weren't there to identify those pests, they wouldn't be able to function. That industry just wouldn't be able to function. And so think about that, right? Like people wouldn't be able to get food that they need because state scientists aren't able to identify the bugs that might, you know, damage their food supply. That's just one example, right? We've got scientists like me who respond to oil spills, right? I don't know if you've been paying attention to oil spills lately in California, but we've had, you know, quite a few relatively large spills over the past 5 to 10 years. And state scientists are integral parts of those emergency response teams. If you don't have state scientists there, stuff falls apart, right? We can't respond to those spills and minimize the impacts of oil spills to our wildlife. I mean,
right.
You know, so lots of stuff like that. Toxicologists, right? They look out for people's well-being when it comes to like toxic sites that might be near their neighborhoods. I mean, it's extremely important stuff. And, you know, we're there to protect the public. And I hope they realize how much work, you know, state scientists do to do that. We really do work in service of them. So,
you know, it sounds like you all have, a lot of you have positions that are not easily scabbable. They can't just hire folks
Right.
in if you walk off.
Just look at these bugs or whatever.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
yep, that's a bug.
Yep, that's a bug.
Like, to my mind, that means that that seems like a pretty massive piece of leverage, hopefully for you
Mhm.
folks. Also, it kind of surprises me that you're in the position you're in today, that it's taken this long.
Yeah, me too, given the fact that our own governor and our governor's administration like loves to talk about how science friendly and supportive California is, right? So here we are, using these scientists as a talking point, right? Like, we value science, right? But do you actually? Because I don't know if you actually value the people who are doing the science.
Right.
So huge hypocrisy there.
Yeah. Can I broaden the conversation a bit, and bring in our resident labor expert, Cory? I don't know.
And wrestling expert.
And wrestling
Yeah.
expert. Yeah. Labor and wrestling. Can we? Yeah, you're on the wrestling DSA wrestling committee with Casey.
Yeah, we're launching it soon.
Can we?
I might come back to DSA if you guys launch a wrestling committee.
I'll run it up the chain.
Can you talk to sort of the larger moment of labor and what's happening here with the scientists and how it fits into what seems to be, and maybe moment's the wrong term, because it seems like it's turning much more from a moment into a movement. What's going on?
Yeah, I think right now, if you look around at what's happening in this country, the labor movement is completely resurgent. So just a few examples of this are, if you look in California, we had the academic workers who had a successful strike last year that led to major raises. UPS, 300,000. They didn't end up striking, but they authorized a strike. They were doing practice pickets, and at the last minute, UPS caved and gave them a historically large contract. We're about to see the United Auto Workers go on strike, with more than 100,000 workers there. My cousin, who is a WGA writer, is on strike right now. SAG,
I didn't know you had a
SAG-AFTRA.
cousin who was with WGA.
Yeah. We're seeing Starbucks all around the country, just as an example. New union efforts are starting to go up again after years and years of union membership in this country being, in crisis. We're starting to see a turnaround as we see more and more workplaces unionizing. And so this is a time where people are feeling the economic squeeze. I think the pandemic taught people that your bosses don't care about you. Like, literally, they don't care if you live or die. For a lot of people, had to learn that in a very real way. And so people, I think, feel less connected to their workplaces. They feel more like they have to take ownership of their own health and of their own work conditions if they want them to be good. And so unions are the historic tool that you have. And it's not the only way to guarantee that happens, but it's pretty darn close to the only way. And so I think people are starting to realize that and realize that you have power. And so I think that's kind of the moment we're in. And as you said, Dave, it's kind of turning into it's turning into a movement right now. And
I want to jump in here and put like a plug in for UAPD, or Bargaining Unit 16, which is the doctors, state doctors and dentists.
Mm-hmm.
They also implemented a strike authorization vote. They're another holdout at the table with the state as well. So this is pretty unprecedented for state unions, I will say. So kind of a, theme of that whole labor movement going on right now.
Would you say the different state unions are acting and speaking out in solidarity with one another?
I think we've done a better job at that recently. I don't know about, years ago, but, this year we've really, really tried to collaborate as much as we can, given our circumstances. So, we've worked with SEIU Local 1000 to turn people out, to their actions, their rallies, and vice versa. The president of Bargaining Unit 16, Dr. Stuart Busey, showed up at 2 of our rallies over the past couple of weeks and hopped up on stage and in solidarity with us. And so I think we're doing a better job at it now than we have in the past. Mm-hmm.
So what do you think the effect of this sort of added solidarity might be?
Well, I hope that the state sees it and realizes that, SEIU Local 1000, I think, represents over 100,000 state employees. 100,000 state employees. They make that machine turn, right? CAPS, compared to them, I guess, would be small, as well as UAPD. I think they're like between 2,000 and 3,000 doctors that they represent. But I mean, once you get that number of workers joining together in solidarity and supporting each other, especially when we're all bargaining at the same time, I think that really puts some pressure on the state, right? And so, I hope that it results in better contracts for their workers and they can see how important we really are, and acknowledge that. So,
yeah. I mean, I think that, yeah, okay. I've always loved the idea of like one big union, right? The Wobblies. But I think given our current conditions and given our time and given how just totally kneecapped the labor movement was post McCarthyism, I think this is a really special time, and like seeing different unions come out for one another, different workers, different people in spaces from this sort of manufactured notion of upper middle, lower middle class. Like, no, we're all workers and we're all together and we run this show. And if you don't pay us what we're worth, if you don't give us conditions that will allow for a happy and healthy life, then we will shut this whole thing down. If you stop helping, if you don't listen to any of us or any single one of our unions, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of one of the foundational tenets of the DSA Labor Committee in Sacramento. We have nurses, warehouse workers, scientists, we have teachers, and understanding that this is all the same struggle and that the tactics are also the same, that the difference between us and the billionaire bosses are way bigger than the differences among us, right? And that when we work together, we have something that they need, and they need our labor, right? Like, they're billionaires on the backs of our work. They didn't, nobody worked for $1 billion. They shaved that off the top of your labor. And
that's
so
your labor. Yes.
Yeah. And so, the only way to get some of that in your own pocket is to work together and to be willing to withhold labor from them, be willing to organize your workplaces. And we can see it happening all over the place. I mean, look at the Teamsters, right? So look at how much a UPS driver makes. They're making 6 figures in some cases, compared to the divided up drivers of Lyft and Uber, who sometimes struggle to make minimum wage. And it's just the difference between them.
Amazon, right?
Yeah, or Amazon, right. And the difference between them is fundamentally that one of these groups is well organized and the other one isn't. And so I will say, anyone who's interested in connecting, we do a lot of thinking about strategy. If you're interested in salting, which is when you take a job to
talk
go
about
try
salting.
to
Yes, I was going to
unionize a workplace, we try to connect people who are interested in salting. One sector that we're really interested in connecting people to, especially, is logistics. So we see kind of logistics as a critical sector, where there's a lot of underutilized labor power. So people are highly exploited in these warehouses.
And this is, especially post-pandemic, this is the system that runs our universe now. Like, we don't go to the store the way we used to. It's you order something online, it goes through these warehouses, and then these drivers from these warehouses bring it to your door. They are not organized in the way that you might expect. We've seen really exciting shit happening, right? Alabama was first, but then of course New York, a few of their warehouses actually at Amazon, I believe, won some union votes. I don't know if they've been recognized yet, but I guess this is kind of what happens, and this is sort of the trajectory. I don't know, like what before we hop back to Mia, like Cory, like what is exciting to you? What are potential challenges? And what moving forward, how can a listener or viewer support just labor at large?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, speaking as a democratic socialist, I've always thought like the fundamental thing about socialism is that workers have some control over their labor, that the thing that you do during most of your day isn't completely out of your control. And I think that what's going on right now that's really exciting is a recognition that as workers, you can start to take back some of that control. It is about, money is a huge part of it, but it's also about workplace conditions. It's about safety. In many cases, it's just about wanting to do your job the right way. People take a lot of pride in their work. And so I see what's happening right now with the growing union movement as a way of kind of truly raising the level of human dignity that we all live with. And I think it's, I'm not sure that, America was ever once this awesome place to be a worker, but there are times that it has been better than it is now. And, we're moving the needle a little bit. And I think every single one of these struggles amounts to a movement, and that over time, as we connect them up and we continue to learn from each other and continue to grow, we have an opportunity to really, really change the trajectory of this country in an amazing way.
So that was beautiful.
How do you follow that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's tough.
Good luck, Mia.
Yeah.
Steve, Cory.
Yeah, let's bring it back to you. Sorry. But like
Yeah.
So your struggle is everyone's struggle, right? And Local 1000 struggle is everyone's struggle. The Writers Guild, SAG, it's all UPS workers. It's all everyone's struggle. And I do understand the focus for the larger labor movement on logistics because they can shut shit down.
Yep.
But I would hope and I would believe that even the logistics folks would be in solidarity with the scientists that keep them healthy and safe. So, Mia, what next? What is your hope for, the next few step or two? And then if the state continues to disrespect caps, how can listeners and viewers support the state scientists?
Yeah, thank you for that. I hope that the state, Calhr, Department of Finance, the Newsom administration realizes how valuable their scientific workforce is and reflects that in their contract proposals that they pass to us so we can get a fair contract. That is what we are fighting for, a fair contract. I really hope that they, tune in to our strike authorization vote, and that will push them in that direction. and then if it doesn't, we'll see what happens, right? We'll see what the membership says and move forward accordingly. Our bargaining team, I have full faith in our bargaining team to do what is best for state scientists in California. As for supporting us in our fight, we have a website called capscontract2023.org. It has information about our strike authorization vote, but we also have a sign-on letter for the public if they would like to sign on to that letter in support of state scientists. It's on our platform page. You guys scroll all the way down to the bottom, but that sign-on letter is also linked from our Instagram page, and the handle is Caps Scientists. So you can go to the link tree kind of in our profile at the top and link directly to that sign-on letter.
So that's CAPS and then the word scientists, plural, scientists.
Yes.
Okay.
You got it.
Cool.
That is correct. Caps Scientists.
And we'll put it in the show notes as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We also have a social media toolkit that people can use. Anyone can use it, right? State scientists, the public, any state scientist supporters. Also at the capscontract2023.org webpage, they can hop into that webpage and grab the social media toolkit and change their profile pictures and share images. And our hashtag, official hashtag is #ValueScientists. So any post that they make, it would be great if they could use that hashtag as well.
Value scientists.
Cool.
Yep.
That's good.
Value Scientists.
Great episode. I'm just so happy to have both of you here today. It's just important stuff, and it's just one more fight in this grander labor movement. I also just want to respect your time. You two were out marching all day and going to speeches and stuff. But how are you feeling at the end of a day like this?
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Like seeing that show of solidarity was just so uplifting. And then, being able to just develop those kind of relationships with each other after the fact. This has been a long road, and we've been working really hard to kind of improve our organizing. And so to see something like this today, it gives me so much joy. So I am in a really good place today. And also I had a beer afterwards, so that helped. At Urban Roots.
Well deserved.
It was delicious. Yes.
Urban Roots, good black-owned business.
Yes.
And I just want to say how great it was to see how many people came out, not just from CAPS, but outside of CAPS. This was mentioned. We had 5 legislators. We had Dr. Flo Kofer, who showed up, who's running for mayor. We had SEIU 1000. We had other bargaining units. It just felt like a really, really great show of solidarity. And it's like, we notice who shows up for other labor, which politicians are actually there out in support, and which ones aren't. And so something to definitely that we appreciate, and it's really energizing to see other people starting to notice what we're doing.
You had Lorena out there too, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
She represents labor, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we just affiliated with the Labor Federation, the California Labor Federation, AFL-CIO. So that was a really important development for us this past year.
I feel like that would be a massive step for you. Yeah.
Massive. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Solidarity with both the scientist cause and the larger labor cause.
Yes.
With both of you. Our listeners and viewers probably want to know how to keep updated on these things. Now, Cory, I know that you got a little too popular because you were a little too funny on Twitter. I don't know if you want to share your social media, but either of you, if you want to share your personal or organizational, please do.
right now. Why don't you go first, Cory?
Yeah. You can follow me at Sacramento Cory. That is the name of the city. Cory.
I will vouch for Cory being an excellent follow.
Hilarious. Just a hilarious
Love following
follow.
Cory on social media. I would say, for the best updates from Caps, definitely follow Caps on both. On Instagram, we also have
Are you having people talk in your
on
ear right now?
what's that?
Are you having people like talk in your ear right now, or like?
Yeah, people are feeding me information. No, my earbuds keep falling out because they don't belong to me, so they're like a size too big. So I'm like holding them in.
You're like holding your hand to your ear and laughing,
Yes.
and like,
It's like,
Yes.
hang on,
Well,
I'm
when
getting
I-
a note.
Yeah, I'm about to Manchurian candidate. One sec.
Yes, excuse me.
They're just
when
telling
I
you
laugh, they
limericks.
fall
They're
out.
just like, there was an old man from Nantucket.
Oh, dude, it's Newsom in there being like, whiskey, cabin, Kansas.
He's trying to activate you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would follow Cap Scientists on Instagram. And then we also do have an account on X, formerly known as Twitter. So you can follow updates there as well. And then I would say that website, capscontract2023.org, is a really great place to get updates on our current situation and just look for ways to support.
Awesome.
Dave, where can we find you?
I'm around. I'm on Twitter at Kempa. That's at YOUKNOWKEMPA.
I'm also on Twitter at Guillotine for You. That's guillotine, the number 4, YOU. I am also I'm on Blue Sky too. If you're on there, holler at me. I'm lonely on Blue Sky because I feel like every time I tweet, like I just don't. It's
There's
tough for me
nothing-
on Blue Sky. It doesn't
it's
seem like
hard
there's
to
that much
speak
going on. I want to do
there.
it. I want to do it. If you can help me do it, help me do it, please.
Yeah, I should get back on there a bit more.
Yeah.
Blue Sky being the former Twitter owner's little, like, it's his new project that's basically a Twitter for like, it's a happier place. Like, it's a much happier place, but it's like,
Yeah.
I gotta go on Twitter for the journalists and the politicos. It's like I'm there for work, like, and it's like nice people posting thirst traps on Blue Sky. That's not work.
Yeah, I'm the core T on
It
Blue
is for
Sky.
them.
That is like the horniest website in the world.
It is. Yeah. I'm glad it's not just me. I was going to say that too, but I was worried that people would be like, well, it's because of the algorithm figures out what you're looking at, and so.
Yeah. No,
Maybe
it's just-
we're all
No, yeah, that has also been my experience with Blue Sky, though. Yeah.
I'm yes, hello, it's Kempa over at B Sky if you want to find me.
Oh,
but I'm
I
not
think
that
I'm
active
just
yet.
guillotine for you again. Let me double check.
I assumed so.
I'm making it easy for somebody to like fake an account, set
Mhm.
something up. What am I? Yes, guillotine for you. .bluesky.social. That's
I think
guillotine. The number. No.
now that we've got to the bottom of all of this, yeah.
Stop
Anything
making
else
me
we wanna-
laugh. My earbuds keep falling out, guys. Jeez.
Is there anything else anyone wants to add before we wrap this up?
No, just once again, if you like what you're hearing, if you are enjoying the work that we do, we certainly love to have you listen either way, no matter what. But if you are in a position to help us out, you can do that at patreon.com/Voices River City. So yeah, that's all I got.
How about you two, Mia, Cory?
I just want to say thanks for having us here. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all and your listeners, about what's happening with state scientists right now. Stay tuned for more. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Keep fighting.
Yeah, keep doing it.
Yeah. Cory, do you have anything?
Yeah, reach out to me if you are interested in becoming a member of the DSA Labor Committee, have any local labor actions that you want to connect to us as a resource on. We can try and get people out for it. And also follow, DSA's socials because we will share out solidarity fundraisers, stuff like that. So Yeah, keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Very
Also, I would like to be kept up on any updates regarding the wrestling committee. So
Yeah.
if you could send those my way,
Here,
I'll
here.
be looking for those. Yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
tag
you
you
guys-
on those.
Got to get started on that Twitter handle. Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it then. Thank you both for coming. I know you've had a very long, probably, emotionally gratifying, but also exhausting day. So let's wrap it. And
Yeah. Go have another beer.
Yeah.
Yes, will do.
Yes, sir.
Cheers to you guys. Thank
All
you.
right.
All right, y'all.
You
Bye.
guys don't have to hang up yet.
Dave, don't hang up.